Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making yakamein, so go ahead and take a screenshot of these ingredients, or you can find them in the description below. Per usual, we're going to start with our vegetables. I chopped up 1 whole yellow onion, 1 whole green bell pepper, 2 ribs of celery, and then a bunch of green onions. So as you guys already know, I do process all of my veggies. I prefer them to be very small, almost to the point where you don't even notice that they're there. But remember, you guys don't have to do it that way. You can leave them as chunky as you like. So now that we're done with our veggies, we're going to go ahead and move on to our meats. I did slice up a 1.5 pound chuck roast. You guys can use whatever cut of meat you like. I do prefer a chuck roast because I feel like it's more tender, but I also recommend the ribeye steaks, and I've also seen some people using the stew meat for it. So it's just whatever your preference is, but as you can see, I am slicing this up into some thin slices, and then I take each of those thin slices and chop it up into bite-sized pieces. Now we're going to go ahead and season up the meat. I used a little bit of Tony Chachere, not too much. You don't want it to be too salty. Go ahead and give that a good mix. Just make sure that all the meat is coated with the seasoning. Now you can go ahead and place your pot on the stove. I prefer a heavy bottom pan. I put it over medium heat, and then I covered the bottom with some avocado oil, about 1/4 cup. You guys can use whatever oil you like, and we're just going to use this to go ahead and brown that meat. So I do brown my meat for about 2 minutes on each side. Once that 2 minutes has passed, go ahead and flip the meat over to the other side and let that cook an additional 2 minutes. I also wanted to add that I did brown my meat in batches, but you don't have to. You can throw it all in at once if you like. Now once you brown all of your meat, go ahead and scoop it out onto a plate or into a bowl, just whatever you prefer. Now the next step is sweating our veggies. I thought I recorded me dumping it into the pot, but I did not. So you guys get to see me stirring it around. Just know that you put your veggies in at this point. Now you're going to go in with 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sour sauce, 1/4 cup of soy sauce, 1/2 tablespoon of the Tony Chachere seasoning. And I know it does look like a lot, but trust me guys, it's not. It's just a 1/2 tablespoon. I did a 1/2 tablespoon of this Old Bay as well. 1 teaspoon of ground mustard, 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. This one is optional, but I just prefer it. Smoked paprika to taste. 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of the Zatarain's crab oil. This is also optional. And 1 tablespoon of the no salt Tony Chachere. You can use as much of this as you like, but it is pretty spicy, guys, so use your discretion. Now just blend up all those flavors. For additional flavor, I did add in a 1/2 tablespoon of the lobster bouillon. You guys can use whatever kind you like, or you can just omit this part altogether. Now we're going to go ahead and add the meat back into the pot. And now pour 8 cups of that beef broth over the top. Go ahead and add in those chopped green onions. And of course, we're going to go ahead and stir it up and just blend those flavors. Now, I did bring this back up to a medium-high heat to bring it to a boil, but once you get it to that boil, you want to turn it back down to a low simmer and then cover it with the lid for about 1.5 hours. While that meat is simmering, we're going to go ahead and season our shrimp. I use some of the no salt Tony Chachere's. You can use as much or as little as you like. And then I also use some no salt lemon pepper, but this is optional. Now go ahead and mix that up and just ensure that each shrimp is coated evenly. Now once you're done mixing that up, go ahead and place a lid on it and put it back in the fridge until the beef is done cooking. Now while we're waiting, we're going to go ahead and get our pasta prepared. Now I did use angel hair pasta. You guys can use spaghetti or thin spaghetti. I added some sea salt to my water and a little bit of that beef bouillon, and then some olive oil just to make sure that my noodles don't stick. You guys can use whatever flavoring you like. I just like to make sure that my pasta is seasoned as well. And because the broth is going to be hot that we pour onto these noodles, I did cook mine al dente. And while your pasta is cooking, go ahead and place some eggs on the stove to cook. I do add sea salt to my water just to ensure that my eggshells don't stick. You guys can use whatever method you like though. Now after the 1.5 hours has passed, go ahead and take the lid off and add the shrimp into the pot. You don't have to bring this to a boil or anything like that. Just go ahead and mix it up. The broth is so hot, it will cook those shrimp through. And I know this may look strange, but I don't prefer a lot of grease in my broth, so I did take a paper towel and just skim the top of it just to get all the excess grease off. Now that that's done, it's time to go ahead and plate it. I put some of my pasta down into the bottom of the bowl. You can use as much or as little as you like. Now I'm adding in some of that broth. I do prefer a lot of broth, but if you guys don't, look, use as much or as little as you like. I can't stress that enough. Over here, it's all about what you prefer. Now I'm adding some of that meat on top. And then my boiled eggs. A little more of that no salt Tony Chachere's on top just to make it look pretty. Some hoisin sauce. Hopefully I said that right, but this part is optional. I just prefer it. And some green onions for garnish, and boom, there it is, y'all. This is the final product, y'all, and it was so good. I hope you all try it, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as me and my family did. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again next time.